Hey guys, welcome back to Tait Talks NBA Podcast. It's been a while, I know, but today we're just going to get right into it. I'm going to start off, I'm going to go over what we're going to talk about today. We're going to go over a little bit about the college game that went down last night between Duke and North Carolina. We're going to talk about the Super Bowl, a little bit of a wrap-up there, the XFL and what's going on there, the NBA and all the trade deadline drama that's been going on, and a few of the trades that I wish may have happened for some players that I think should have been traded. Now, straight off, we're going to get into Duke versus North Carolina last night. I mean, what a game. I mean, if you watched for through the beginning of the game through, 3/4 of the second half, you probably thought it was a pretty boring game. You know, North Carolina pretty much kept their foot on the gas the whole game, kept the lead, all the way up until 3 minutes when they were still up 13 with around 3.5 minutes to go. Duke starts to come back even after the best player of the night, seemingly, Vernon Carey, fouls out. Even with that, they still start to come back. They start pushing it. You know, I started watching, leaning in a bit more as it came down to about 6 or 7 points with about a minute left, which is still a tough thing to come back from, but 6 or 7 points. And, I think it's pretty obvious what the problem was for North Carolina at the end of the game, and it was their free throws. I mean, it was around, I'm not sure the exact percentage, but it was around 50%. They were like 16 for 32, like, in regular time still, before overtime. And, I mean, you can't shoot free throws like that and expect to hold a lead. I mean, when Duke was fouling at the end, North Carolina was coming away with 1 point if they were lucky, sometimes 0. Out of the 2 free throws they were getting at the end, and it really let Duke back into the game, especially at the end of the game. Trey Jones taking over, hitting that amazing jumper after the missed free throw to send it to overtime. And then once they got in overtime, he just kept his foot on the gas and pushed and kept scoring. But a little bit into overtime, Cole started scoring for North Carolina. They got up 5. It looked over. It looked like Duke could run out of gas, But then again, they start pushing. They start pushing. A few missed free throws here and there, just like in regular time. A few missed free throws lead to points for Duke. And then at the end, just an absolute cluster of events. Missed free throws, made free throws, out of bounds. Who did it go off of? Was there a foul? And in the end, they get the tip in and they win the game. Really, really an amazing win and a big win for Duke to maybe push them up the seeding. Because they need that higher seed to play hopefully some worse opponents beginning in the March Madness, and this was a big win for them. Even though North Carolina is unranked, seeing how they played last night, big win. We're going to move on now to the Super Bowl, and obviously the Chiefs defeated the 49ers in that Super Bowl, and I really think the Chiefs deserved it. Not to say the 49ers necessarily didn't deserve it, but look at how many guys and how many fan favorites are on that Chiefs team. I mean, Patrick Mahomes, who doesn't love Mahomes? You got Kelsey, and then of course Andy Reid. Everyone loves Andy Reid. I mean, they really managed their clock. They managed their plays. They went down early, but they stuck with what they do best, and I think that's what got them the win in the end. I mean, you saw the 49ers coaching really, really struggled, and I mean, they got outcoached, plain and simple, especially at the end of the first half, when instead of having a minute and a half left and calling timeouts to make a final drive, they decided to wait till 14 seconds were left to start calling timeouts and going for a drive. And then there was that, controversial no call on the offensive pass interference, or I guess controversial call of pass interference offensive. But in my opinion, they should have had a minute and a half to work with and shouldn't have even needed that call to be pushing the ball down the field. They end up missing the field goal, and just really didn't work out for them. Now we're going to move on to the XFL. I watched the games yesterday, and there are still some games going on now and today. And honestly, I am pleasantly surprised with how it's gone so far. I mean, in my opinion, I think, yes, there's lesser quality players, but when all the players are within that quality range of, be borderline NFL roster, I think there are still better players that shine through that. And although they could, in the NFL, they might not be good players, in this league, they look good, and compared to other people, they are good. I mean, that's like in college, the good players in there look good and look look amazing, and then when they get to the NFL, maybe they aren't so special, but they're super entertaining in that separate league where, you know, it's confined to that quality, and it looks good. And so far, that's held true for the XFL. You know, I mean, for me, I'm still trying to figure out what team to root for. I don't know whether to go with the Dragons or the Roughnecks for Houston and Seattle. You know, Seattle Seahawks are my team, but I live in Houston, so maybe I should go for the Roughnecks. We'll see how the teams do, and that'll help me decide that. Now, moving on to the real meat of the matter, the NBA trade deadline and what went on there. I'm going to go team by team with some of the biggest pickups that I think happened. No order of importance, just how I chose to talk about it. First off, the Warriors making a trade for Andrew Wiggins and trading D'Angelo Russell for Wiggins. Personally, I think the Timberwolves, you know, they got a good guy with D'Angelo Russell, and he could combo really well with Cat down there, Karl Anthony Towns, and they might have a good combo there. I personally think they're going to need a lot more pieces around them to make that team something special. I think D'Angelo Russell has probably hit his high, you know, of all-star level. I don't think he can really get too much better than what he is. Although he's still very young, he definitely can. I just think Karl Anthony Towns should still be the center of that team, and I think they're still a few pieces away from being a real fighter in the playoffs. I think now they can make the playoffs, but who knows how much noise they can really make. Whereas the Warriors picking up Wiggins, obviously Andrew Wiggins isn't the one making their team so great, but it's the addition of Wiggins to that lineup they already have of Stephen Curry, Klay Thompson, you know. Wiggins along with those guys to fill in the wing. I mean, they lost so many wings this offseason. They lost Sean Livingston, Iguodala, obviously Kevin Durant, and Wiggins is no Durant, but he fills that spot that they really desperately needed at this point. It probably won't change their outcome of the season, and if anything, it shouldn't. They should but, you know, lose those games, get a high pick, another good piece, maybe center or another wing to fill in with Curry and Klay. And, I mean, next year they're going to come back strong. I think they're definitely going to be they're probably going to be underrated as far as it goes, seeing how this season went, but people were quick to forget how good Curry and Thompson really are, and adding Wiggins just helps that. For me, I think the Warriors probably make it back to a top 4 seed in the West. You know, even with that strong West, I think they still make it with all that experience and now youth they'll probably have along with it. As far as the Wolves go, adding D'Angelo Russell, I think they'll probably be a 5 through 8 seed in the playoffs, and they could make noise. I think, like I said before, they're going to need to add people. But this actually coming into the trade that happened with all those players, the Robert Covington going from the Timberwolves to the Rockets. I'm going to talk about the Rockets in a second, but Robert Covington leaving the Timberwolves, I think, would have been one of those pieces that would have helped the Timberwolves with Karl Anthony Towns and D'Angelo Russell. Would have been a valuable piece for them. And right now, I think, you know, they added Malik Beasley from the Nuggets and Hernan Gomez from the Nuggets, but I still think they're a piece or two away from really making being a contender. Right now, I think they're just a fighter, as I would say, in the playoffs. Now the Rockets, you know, they traded away Clint Capella, sent him to the Hawks, which I'll get into that in a second, but trading for Robert Covington, that's great. You know, that's a great piece for the Rockets. Adds defense, which they don't have too much of. You know, you add Robert Covington to go with PJ Tucker, now you can shut down top 2 scorers on teams. It's a really great pickup. He can shoot the 3, but now, you know, you got no size. And I think, you know, obviously the other night they did beat the Lakers, credit to them, but personally, I think when it comes down to it, playoff time, the team has time to scout you, has time to run plays against you. I think what we saw in the Lakers game was a lot of Lakers turnovers, possibly up to 10 turnovers where they're just trying to get it to a big guy to abuse those mismatches, and it just gets stolen. But when it comes down to it and you can run plays for it, I think the ball, you'll have the plays to get to the big guys to score over these small people. I don't think it'll keep up in the playoffs. You'll get a few games, but you're not beating a squad, especially like the Lakers or the Clippers or a team like that. The Hawks, adding Clint Capella, I don't think it'll make an impact this season because he's still hurt and will be hurt for quite a while. But I think it's a good addition. I personally am not that high on Clint Capella. I think he looks a lot better than he is because he played with some major playmakers. Chris Paul, Russell Westbrook, obviously James Harden, one of the better playmakers in the league, made him look really good. And we'll see. He's going to have a player like that in Trae Young and his team, so maybe he still will look good. But I don't think he's as big of an impact player as people maybe think he is, but I do think he can provide this guidance to that young Hawks team. I mean, they aren't doing well now, but they have a bright future. They're going to have another high draft pick this year. They have DeAndre Hunter, they have Cam Reddish, they have Trae Young, John Collins, Kevin Huerter. The list goes on of the young guys they have that are just getting better. Now, my team, the Thunder, didn't trade anyone. I'm really happy about that. I was afraid they were going to lose Gallinari, one of my favorites now, watching the Thunder. They held on to SGA, Chris Paul. I'm pretty sure they didn't trade anyone. If they did, it wasn't one of their big traders, or one of their big players. Traders. But they kept on to all of their pieces. They're sitting in the middle seeds of the West. I like them for the playoffs. I don't think they're a contender. I'm not delusional, but I think if they go against one of those teams, like the Nuggets or someone in those top seeds, they could really they could get a game or two on them, make it tough, make them earn it. But I really like this Thunder team. They're getting better. They have all the picks. They're set up for the future. I think the future's bright for the Thunder. Now, another trade that happened, Marcus Morris going from the Knicks to the Clippers. I think that was a big pickup for the Clippers. Not really sure what the Knicks were doing there. Didn't get a whole lot in value out of that. I'm not sure exactly who they got, but definitely wasn't worth Marcus Morris, who this year has just, once again been showing out. He's shooting 44% from three, even better catch and shoot percentage-wise. Good field goal percentage, obviously amazing defender, and he's just tough. He's gritty. He's one of those guys you love to have on a championship team like the Clippers want. Adding more defense to that already stacked defensive lineup. They've struggled at times defensively, but I think when it comes down to it, the game in the playoffs, the game's going to slow down. You're going to need those defenders. You've already got Paul George, Kawhi Leonard. There's your top two scorer on the other team. They're done. They're not even, who needs to worry about them? Unless it's a player like Harden or Giannis who's almost unstoppable. You don't even have to worry about the scores. They're shut down. Then you got Patrick Beverley. He's going to hound someone. And now you've got Marcus Morris to shut down another player. It's really going to be tough to do much when the game slows down in the playoffs against those Clippers. Also, another Clippers kind of thing that happened is he was involved, Isaiah Thomas, involved in a trade to the Clippers. Now he's just going to get cut, is what it sounds like, and I think might have already happened. They might have already just waived him after a trade, which is really unfortunate for Thomas. You want to see him be on a team and really be successful, but just right now he's not. He's not at that level he was on the Celtics. He was a beast. He was an MVP. His offensive abilities were making up for what he lacked on defense, because he's basically, you're gonna get scored on almost every time against with Isaiah Thomas on defense. But he would score even more on offense, so it made up for it. But now, after the injuries and after everything that happened, he just really doesn't have that ability anymore. Doesn't have the quick step. Doesn't have the burst or the shot anymore that he once did, and it's just making it harder and harder to play for him. You gotta feel bad for the guy, but it's a business. It happens. Now, I think probably the biggest question mark was the Andre Drummond trade to the Cavs. A lot of people actually are making it sound a lot worse and questionable than it was. I think they definitely wasn't good. I'm not saying it was a good trade, but Andre Drummond's on the last year of his contract. He's going to be a free agent at the end of the year. Unless you're someone like the Rockets, I think could have used a player like this, and maybe you give up Clint Capella for that, but who knows how that worked. But he's got 1 year left, and I think the only teams. Part of the reason why this makes it weird is because the only teams that usually trade for a big guy with not big guy, but like a big star with 1 year left are contenders. You rent him out like we saw just last year with Kawhi Leonard. You try and get him push for the championship, in that last year of his contract. But for some reason, the Cavaliers decided to trade for him, which doesn't make a lot of sense. It's not like they got much out of it. They traded. They didn't have to pay a lot, which is nice. They gave up John Henson, another player, and I think a second round pick, which is great for the Cavs. You don't give up much, you get a good player, but it's awful for the Pistons. They didn't even get a first rounder for this guy who's like a walking 15-point, 15 rebound guy. Sometimes 20 rebounds. He's just a monster on the glass, and just a big question mark there. We'll see what happens with that, and what the Cavs are doing now, because you're not going to be able to pay Drummond and Love while trying to then eventually have to pay all your guards that you drafted. It'll be interesting to see. Now I'm gonna move on to the trades I wish would have happened. The biggest one I think for me is Davis Bertans on the Wizards. First of all, he should be on the Spurs, but this summer there was a big problem where the Spurs thought they were going to get Morris, so they didn't sign Bertans. Bertans signs with the Wizards, and then Morris backs out and goes to the Knicks. So then the Spurs end up empty-handed with nothing. It was really unfortunate, but then we saw Bertans go to the Wizards, where he's now shooting almost double the amount of shots, but improved his percentage, especially from 3. He's around 45% from 3, which is amazing. That's why I think he would have been good on a team. He's lackluster defensively, but he's got size, which you can just stick him down low and hopefully he'll do his job. But I think teams that could have used him, the Rockets, in their 3-point barrage that they have, a shooter of 46% in the caliber of Bertans would have been valuable for them. Another team, the Lakers, just another putting a knockdown shooter around LeBron works. We've seen it work. Kyle Korver, being on the Cavs with LeBron, it works. Just put a guy with him. I think it would have been very good. You would add another shooter if they need to put in. It would have been super valuable, but it didn't end up happening. And then another team, I think the Bucks. I mean, we've seen the Bucks surround Giannis with just shooters. The guys that aren't so good defensively, but are shooters. Like the addition of Kyle Korver, which I love. I mean, he doesn't play the defense, but he knocks down the shots. He doesn't have to play big minutes. You just put him in for a few minutes, give him the green light, let him shoot, gets a few threes. I think it would have been the same with Bertans, but he adds more size. It's another player that would have made him even more deep, kind of thing. But the word was they were asking for 2 first-round picks for Bertans, which is definitely a lot. Drummond didn't even get traded for 2 first-round picks, but Bertans has the big a contract for a few years, but 2 first-rounders is still too much. 1 first-rounder is a lot for Bertans, and 2 is just ridiculous. Another player I wish would have been traded, but doesn't seem like he wants to be traded, is Bradley Beal. He's struggling on the Wizards and has said he wants to stay on the Wizards, but I think if they keep losing, he'll change his mind. A place I really see him being successful at is the Mavs. If he joins the Mavs get that third piece. I think they are a third piece away from really being that contender. You add Bradley Beal to the combination of Luka Doncic and Kristaps Porzingis, I think it really works. I mean, we see Beal now being ball dominant, shooting almost every play, and being very efficient. Should definitely be an all-star this year, but we see him shooting efficiently, I think. But we've seen him take that step back, be that number 2 piece to John Wall. Now, obviously, he's viewed as better as John Wall, or should be viewed as better than John Wall. But if he gets put on a team, he has that ability to take that second role. And if you put him on a team with the Mavs, you have Luka number 1 option, you have Beal number 2, and Kristaps number 3. I mean, it's with the depth they have, that would make them instant contender. They'd be up there. Maybe not Lakers and Clippers level, but they'd be right under them. I think they're then better than Warriors, better than Nuggets. They're up there if they add Beal. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. Kind of a more minor one was Derrick Rose being traded to the Lakers. I think should have happened as far as the Lakers are concerned, because I think it would have been valuable for them to add that playmaker off the bench, that scorer. Because when LeBron goes out and it's Rondo there, I mean, Rondo's a solid player, but he's not what he used to be, and he's not Derrick Rose as far as a scorer goes. He's got that playmaking ability, but he can't really shoot. He's all right at finishing, but he's small. And we've seen Rose recently really recreate himself, become that shooter he needs to be in this age, and finish around the hoop. I think it would have been valuable for the Lakers. Unfortunately, it didn't happen. To finish up this whole NBA section, there's now a question mark of Darren Collison coming back to the league, maybe, if he wants to. And if he did, he'd come back to the Lakers or Clippers, is what he said. But it definitely looks like it's leaning towards the Lakers. Could be valuable for the Lakers, adding that playmaker that they want, that they need, and the scorer, could be valuable for them. That's all I've got for today, so I'll see you next time. Thanks for watching. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.